Hi, and welcome back to the Conscious Movement. For today's class, we're going to build on what we worked on last time. So we're going to start with the same core focus, but then we're going to try to add some lateral flexion and see if we can still keep the integrity from our spine, not just sinking into it. So for today's class, you're going to want to have the same stuff: strap, block, foam roller, if you can grab that. And then we'll get started lying down on the back. So let's begin. Lie down onto your back, and we're going to start with this core work on the back. So starting off in Supta Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet together and the knees wide apart, I want you to just take a moment to find neutral with your pelvis. So in this Baddha Konasana position, you should feel that you have an arch in your lower back. And also another thing that you're looking for is the pubic bone and the front hip bone to be on the same plane. For example, the pubic bone isn't above or below the front hip bones, right in that line. Now bring your knees together, and as you exhale, roll your lower back down into the ground. And as you inhale, arch through your lower back. Exhale to flatten through the lower back. Inhale to arch the lower back. Then come into neutral with your lumbar spine. Feel your neck in neutral. Your chin isn't tipped up. It's not tucked. And then as you exhale, bring your hands to the sides of your rib cage. Exhale and close the rib cage. You're going to draw it in and down like this. Exhale through your mouth. And feel the back of the rib cage come into contact with the mat, but you haven't flattened your lower back. Now as you breathe in, breathe into your back ribs, low back ribs, middle back ribs, upper back ribs, feel them all spread out. And as you exhale, hug the rib cage back in and down. So we're learning to engage the core with the breath. As you breathe in, breathe into the back ribs, low, middle, upper. Don't let the jaw stick up. Let the sides of the jaw release back down. And as you exhale, now hold the exhalation. And without your hip bones moving, bring your right leg into table. And change, bring your left. Change, bring the right. Change, bring the left. Now let me see if you can hug your ribs in and then hover both feet up above the floor. So you're creating tension through your core, not letting the jaw pop up, not straining the neck, and then take your arms up to the ceiling. So we're just hovering the feet above the mat. Now as you exhale, slowly take your right arm back, but don't let the rib cage pop up. Then bring the arm back up. And as you exhale, take the left arm back. Keep hugging the ribs in and down as you exhale. As you inhale, breathe in the back ribs. Arm back up. Exhale the right arm. Inhale back up. Exhale the left. Don't let the ribs pop up. Don't let the neck pop up. Bring it back up. Now float the feet up to knee height, still keeping good integrity through your core. And as the right arm goes back, lower the left foot 1 inch above the mat. Come back up, but try to move from your thigh instead of just lowering the shin. And then take the left arm back as you lower the right thigh so that you're going to hover the foot 1 inch above your mat. Back up. You should start to shake if you're really doing this well, if you're using the rib cage right. Right arm, left leg. Now if you want to make it more challenging, hugging the ribs in, see if you can push your left heel forward, just hovering it above the ground. Don't let the chin pop up. Come back up. So a little review from last class. Lower the right as the left, and then see if you can push the right heel. 30 more. No, I'm just kidding, last round. Right arm, left leg. Push the left heel if you can, keeping the ribs in. Low abs turn on. Squeeze those low abs. Back up. Left arm, right leg. hug the low abs as you push the leg. Don't let the low abs lose their grip. And then back up. Good job. Set your feet down. Roll yourself up to seated. And come onto your hands and your knees. So now place your hands right underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And we'll go through cat-cow. So as you inhale, flip the sit bones up, and then one vertebra at a time, roll up through your spine into extension. And then starting from your pelvis again, tuck the buttocks and round through your spine, one bone at a time, as best you can. Visualize each bone traveling up. And then reverse the direction. We'll start with the head. Take the neck one bone at a time into extension. Upper back. Middle. Lower back. Flip the tail. And then round from your neck again. Upper back. Middle. Low back. Then come into neutral. And now, like you had a foam roller on your back, I want you to lift your right arm out to the side, hugging the ribs in. Now hugging the low abs, see if you can lift the left knee out to the side. Then slowly bring them into the midline and lift them back out. But see if you can just hover them just slightly above the floor. Ribs in, low abs. Don't let your middle sink. Slowly lower. And push back out to the side. Don't let the neck tense up. Hug in your middle. And then send the arm forward and the leg back behind you. Push the buttock down towards the heel so that your lower abs can stay engaged. Lower your hand and your knee down. We'll change sides. So start with just the arm. Without the ribs sinking, take your left arm out to the side. And then we got to really turn on those low abs. Ready? Low abs as you lift the knee out to the side. Don't let your middle twist. Don't let your hips twist. Slowly lower, hovering above the floor. And as you exhale, feel the core engage like when you're on your back, the same feeling. Lower slow. Exhale. Hold. Now send the arm forward as you push the leg back behind you, but you're going to have to turn on that middle buttock, tone the low abs so that the lower back stays long. It's not drooping to the floor. Remember how the chin wanted to push up to the ceiling? Draw your chin back in, almost like you're trying to make a double chin. Then lower your hand and your knee. Stretch back into child's pose. Downward facing dog. Come into plank pose. And we're just do one last thing to warm up the hips. So from plank, engage your core, little micro bend in your elbows, soften your wrist, but push down through your hands, strong in your arms. Now bring your right leg up, hovered up just an inch, but feel your core engage. Now bring the knee to the elbow. Reach it back. Bring it to your left elbow. Reach it back. Right elbow. Reach it back. Change sides. Hover the left foot up an inch. Feel that your core stays on when you lift the leg. Left elbow. Back. Right elbow. Back. Left elbow. Back. And right elbow. Step it back. Hold there. Then set your knees down. Stand on your knees. Step your right foot out to the side. Then tip from your pelvis towards your right thigh. Set your forearm down. Chest open, good posture. Take your left arm up to the ceiling. Inhale. And as you exhale, slide your hand behind your head. Breathe into the stretch in your left armpit chest, through your side body. Come back up. Change sides. Step the left foot out to the side. Let the thigh rotate out, but try to aim your navel to point forward again. Ooh, a little sticky on this side. Then tip from your hips out over your leg. Set your forearm down, take your arm up, and slide your hand behind. So yesterday we worked on, or in the last class rather, we worked on those hip movements to see how much movement we can get from the thigh bone without the core losing its integrity. So you should be looking for that same thing here. You're not just sinking into your flexibility, but you're seeing how much you can get the thigh to rotate without the middle, without losing your core. Now we are adding the side bend. In the last class, we weren't doing any lateral flexion. We were just seeing if we can maintain neutral. So just a different degree of difficulty to do that. Come back up, and very last, we're gonna do just a little bit for the neck. So with your arms at your side, I want you to tuck your chin and feel the neck get long. Then lower the chin towards the chest. Roll your chin towards your right shoulder and then making a big circle with your chin. Roll up and over. Notice where there's any sticky spots, crunchy spots. Going nice and slow to mobilize the neck. One more circle in this direction. And change directions. Visualize your knuckles reaching away from the shoulders, away from the neck as you're making these circles. So you're getting a little stretch, a deeper stretch through the neck muscles, through the reach of the knuckles. All right, then come up to stand at the top of your mat. And as you inhale, raise your arms up and hold, feeling the rib cage release back into its neutral position. Open up the soles of your feet, open up your toes, descend through the center of your heel bones. Turn your triceps forward, wrap the outer upper arms forward. Reach up through your pinkies, through all your fingers. Then bring your hands to prayer. And with your eyes closed, breathe all the way down into your rib cage. And let it out. Release your arms at your side. Open your eyes. Inhale, raise the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, find a flat back. Step back into plank pose. Lower into chaturanga. Inhale into cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now, one thing that you'll notice is that I regress the flow as I'm starting to warm up. So I do like more beginner variation, I guess you could say, where I lower with knees down, go into cobra. And then as I'm really feeling myself warm up, maybe by the end of the A salutations into the Bs, I'll start to do the full thing. But that's just because I'm protecting years of skateboarding injuries and surfing injuries. So if you feel fully strong and healthy to move already, you can go through it, but feel free to modify. Look between your hands, step or float up to the front. Always making sure that we're taking care of the body, flat back, and not forcing it. Fold forward. Inhale, come all the way up. Strong in your legs, deep in your core as you stretch the arms. And exhale, we'll go right into the forward fold from here. Inhale to a flat back. Step back and lower, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, upward facing. Exhale, downward dog. Breathe through your nose. Open up the skin on the bottom of your hands and the soles of your feet. Look in between your hands. Step your foot up to the front. Inhale into a flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back and lower into chaturanga. Inhale, cobra, upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. Raise your right leg up behind you as you inhale. Exhale the knee to your chest, shift into plank, pull up your knee, turn on your core and hold. Squeeze your heel to your buttock. Point your toe back. Then step your foot up to your thumb. Drop your back knee down, but lower it right underneath your hip. Then as you inhale, come up. So you're not in a deep lunge here. Then take your arms forward and we're gonna do the upright twist. Ever so slightly engage the buttock towards the back of the knee. Not so slightly, engage the buttock and just very subtly, little gentle tuck in the pelvis. But spine tall, twist to your right, reach your arm back. Come back to center. Right hand to your chest, spin your chest, pull your elbow back, navel softens back, and then reach the arm. One more time. Spin, turn the chest, take the arm back, hold. Now curl your back toes under, and as you engage your right hip, keep your spine tall. See if you can lift the back knee up an inch without your right shin caving in. Bring the knee back down, raise your arms up. Bring both hands down onto the inside of your foot. Lunge just a little bit deeper. Then curl your back toes and lift your back knee as you hold here with the hands on the inside. Step back into plank pose. Take a vinyasa or just stretch right back into downward facing dog. Raise your left leg up, inhale. Exhale the knee to your chest, pull up and hold. Turn on your core, push the arms, spread your shoulder blades into your hands, squeeze your heel to your buttock, point the toes back. Then step your foot up by your thumb. Drop your back knee down underneath your hip. Inhale, come up, raise your arms. Bring hands to prayer as you engage your right glute. Feel your tailbone lengthen down towards the ground. Now arms forward, twist, hand to chest, turn, take the arm back. Back to center. Hand to chest, turn the chest, reach the arm. Back to center. Last one, slide hand to chest, turn your chest, pull the elbow back first. Then take the arm back. Now here we go. As you drive down into your left heel, keep your spine tall as you try to lift the back knee up just an inch. And hold for 3, 2, stretch your arms. 1, bring the knee down, raise your arms up. Bring your hands down onto the inside of the foot. You can wiggle the foot over to the left a little bit. Hold here. Then curl your back toes under, lift your back knee up. Step back into downward facing dog or take a vinyasa. Look in between your hands, step or float up to the front of your mat. And as you inhale, come into a flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Sit your hips back into a chair. Hold your belly in as you raise your arms up. Stand Samasthiti. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back and lower into Chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Step your right foot. Let's do crescent lunge for this first one. Drive into your right heel, back heel up. Strong in your right hip as you reach up. Inhale. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Step your left foot, crescent lunge. Inhale, come up. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Bend knees and look forward. Step or hop to the top. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose. Stand Samasthiti. Inhale into chair. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step or float back into Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your left foot. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Bend your knees and look forward. Step or float up to the front. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale into chair pose. Stand Samasthiti. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale, fold forward. Exhale, Chaturanga, step or float back. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot, warrior one. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, Chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Step your left foot, warrior one. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. From down dog, bring your thumbs close together. Now step your left foot up to the outside of your left hand and right foot up to the outside of your right hand. Then without your knees caving in, keeping the center of your heel bones grounded, slowly start to lower your buttocks towards your heels. Keeping the sides of the lumbar spine long. Keeping the neck tall, not sinking into the neck. Then straighten your legs, fold forward. Bend your knees and roll yourself up to stand. Now this next little exercise before you go into the sun salutations, you can use a wall or hold onto something, a countertop, but it'll be beneficial to put your hands onto something so that we can make sure that we're moving the thigh instead of letting our whole body sink and twist. So bring your right knee up like you're about to take Utthita Hasta. Then move the knee out to the side, but keep your core engaged, keep your spine in good posture. Then internally rotate your right thigh and take the leg back behind you, but don't let your spine sink forward as you go to take it behind you. Squeeze your buttock, push the heel back, and then lower the knee next to your left. Push the knee back behind you again, squeezing the buttock, engaging your hamstring. Take the leg out to the side, lift it up, then externally rotate as you hold it out to the side. Bring it back to center and set your foot back down. Do it one more time, pull the knee up, take the knee out to the side. Internally rotate your leg, kick the leg behind you, squeeze your buttock down, push the heel back, lower it next to your left. Push back up, take the knee out to the side, externally rotate as you hold it up, bring it back into the midline, set the foot down. Let's change sides. Holding your ribs in like when you're on the ground, bring your knee up. Open the leg out to the side. Then internally rotate your thigh as much as you, but look, when I internally rotate, see how my whole body wants to react? So I want to see if I can still keep the mountain as I internally rotate and then bring the knee behind me, squeeze the buttock, lower the knee next to the right, squeeze the buttock in as I push the heel back, then lift it back out to the side, externally rotate, hold it there, bring it back into the midline. One more time, set the foot down, pull back up, open to the side, still keeping my core in, internally rotate, take the leg behind, squeeze the buttock, push up, lower the knee, push back up behind you, lift out to the side, and then bring it back to center. Now step your legs wide apart, spread your arms out. Holding your middle in, angle the left leg in and turn the right thigh out. Bend your right knee, but now we're really keeping this focus from the middle as the thighs are rotating and moving around. It's not just that. Okay, so now that you have this awareness of you can move your legs around, you can move your femurs in the hip socket while still keeping the integrity of the core. And then really our practice is the whole thing is becoming a core workout, and we're using the right muscles in the legs to support us as opposed to just sinking into our feet and our core. Feel how much better the contact of your feet are. Spread your arms. Feel how solid you feel in the legs and in the spine. But then don't be rigid through your breath. Let your breath flow. Those things are kind of hard. Geez. Get a little sweat just doing those. Then tip from your pelvis out over your thigh, but keep the sides of your chest lifted. Don't let your chest collapse. Be in your legs, be in your core. Put your right hand down. Take your left arm over. Now, if you're really getting those actions well of being in the core, making sure that the rotation is coming from the thigh, you're not sinking in the spine to make the rotation, then you should really feel your hip engage, your leg turn on. It should feel hard in the leg, but we balance that out with the breath. We find equanimity, sense of balance by breathing slow and steady through the nose. Come back up into warrior two, and then we'll change sides. So the right foot angles in a little bit, left leg turns out, but make sure that you aren't sinking to do it. This is what I see most commonly in my group classes. People have been practicing years and years, they'll go for this position and it's just a middle sink. So we're gonna see, can we keep the ribs in without being rigid? Let the chin release back into position as we bend the knee. And it feels like a whole different pose. I'm getting a different stretch in my pelvis than I normally get. My core feels turned on. Spread your arms. It's like an infomercial for using your core. But that's not all. If you learn to use your core now, you're gonna save yourself years of low back pain. Isn't that great? See if you can lunge just a little bit deeper, but from your core. You're not just sinking into the joint. Yeah, if you add now, you'll also keep your hip joints healthy. You won't need a hip replacement, that's great. Hands onto your hips, tip from your pelvis out over your leg. Oh man, I could really feel my body having to work to hold it. Then set your hand down, keeping the sides of your chest lifted, and take your arm over. One of my favorite sayings that BKS Iyengar would say about the yoga poses is he would say that the yoga poses are like a surgeon's knife. They can be used to heal or they can be used to cut and harm. A knife, you know, it could hurt somebody. So anyways, depending on how you do the pose, they can heal your body, they can make you strong, healthy, flexible, or if you're not turning on the right parts and just sinking into it, you're gonna start to wear out your joints over time. Come back up. Then straighten your leg, turn your toes in, feet parallel, plug your middle in. Spread the legs and the arms. Step up to the top of your mat. Come back into Samasthiti. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back and lower into Chaturanga. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, down dog. Step your right foot for warrior one. Inhale, come up. Open up to your side, warrior two. Make sure you got it right. Okay, then put your hand down on the inside of your foot. And take a half bind or full bind, wrap your left arm. So the thing that you have to be careful with practicing this way is that when you first learn to use your core, there's a tendency to be squeezing the whole time and exhaling to try to really get into your core. So make sure that you're not doing that. Remember the breath pattern that we started with. Breathing into the back ribs, exhaling. You can even use a few exhalations through the mouth. Don't worry, I won't tell anybody that you exhaled through your mouth in yoga to help to engage your core. Now, if you're in the full bind, put your right hand back down and scoot your back foot in a foot closer. Put your hand a foot in front of your foot. Lean into your foot, but watch the right thigh bone. Don't let it cave in. You keep the knee pointing straight ahead towards your right elbow. as you go to lift the back leg up. Uh-oh, my lower back tried to sink forward to make it happen, so I'm going to bend my knee a little bit deeper, make sure that I have my core integrity. Now I'm going to get the rotation from the thigh, just like I practiced standing. Okay, now keeping the rotation in your thigh, not sinking your lumbar forward, can you grow both legs? Now you're going to feel the right outer buttock turn on. It should be working like crazy to support you, as opposed to just sinking in your lower back. And then you just sink into the joint. You could hold that like all day. It feels easy. Now take your left arm up, and from that grip in your hip, spin your navel and your ribs, but don't go into extension. Keep the length. Bend your knee, slide into triangle pose. Bring your hand down to the mat, left hand down, spin your back heel up as you bend your right knee. We're going to do the fancy transition next. Plant the left hand, turn onto the outside of your back foot. You could take your right big toe up into Vashisthasana 2, or you can do modified Vashisthasana with the hand foot planted, a little less weight in the arm, or do full Vashisthasana, step the foot back. Your call. But instead of kicking your middle forward and sinking into your lower back to hold, see if you can keep the middle in, feel your neck lengthen, and lengthen through your tail. Same posture as on your back at the beginning. Then slowly with control, come into plank pose. And you could take a vinyasa or just stretch right back into down dog. Step your left foot for Vira 1. Inhale, come up. Open up to your side, Vira 2. Modified side, tip from the pelvis. You can use hands on the hips. That's what I have to do. That's what I do, at the beginning of the practice to try to educate my body how to tip over. You can integrate that as much as you need. Wrap your right arm behind, half bind or full bind. Now, if you're in the full bind, put your left hand back down, wiggle your back foot in a foot closer, and then put that left hand a foot in front of the foot, but already just to move the hand, notice how your left shin wants to cave in. Plant the hand, turn the left thigh from deep in the socket, not by sinking the lumbar, keep the lumbar long. And now as you lean into that foot, oh man. And right now I'm using the exhalation through the mouth, like at the beginning, to help to turn on my core, because this is the side where my hip is limited. It doesn't want to rotate out as much. So then once you got it, see if you can breathe steady through your nose again. Take your arm up. From the grip of your hip, lift your left side lower belly up to your right shoulder. Turn your back ribs down to the ground, and then start to open up your chest to the side. But we're not doing it by torquing from the lumbar. We're keeping the lumbar long, keeping the ribs in. Drive through your back heel like you're pushed into a wall. Now bend your knee and slide into Trikonasana, triangle pose. Bring your right hand down, spin your back heel up as you bend your knee. Plant your hand, twist, take your arm up. And then from there, you could go big toe, Vashisthasana 2, Vashisthasana 1, normal side plank, or you can work on the core. I always like, if I'm learning something new, practicing a new action, I'll take it down a notch so that I can find it a little bit better. So in this case, I got my foot in front. I'm really focusing, okay, can I get the same feeling that I had at the beginning of class? Oh, there's that head that wants to get weird. So release from the sides of the jaw back into position. Make sure that your head isn't sinking onto your right shoulder, but there's equidistance between each ear and each shoulder. More common than not, I see the right ear sinking into the right shoulder. Then slowly with control, come into plank pose. Take a vinyasa, or just stretch right back into down dog. Look forward, step or float up. It's crow time. Squat down, come into Malasana, sit back towards your heels, hollow your guts out as you let your arms go forward and your hips go back. And then before we go into crow, let's internally rotate the arms and slide the hands to the backs of the heels. Maybe you can hook your fingers, maybe you can grab your wrist. Hold there for a breath, hold there for 2 breaths. Teaching the body this position of the spine and the legs for Bakasana, crane pose. Now release that, put your hands out in front of you with the knees tucked way up high by the armpits, and then see if you can lean into your arms and float up from here, but don't let the spine uncurl. Keep the buttocks tucked, keep the abs in, and keep your collarbones broad as you go to lean into your hands and lift up. Maybe you can lift one foot, maybe you can lift both, or you can just practice hovering on the toe tips. Make your way back into Chaturanga, or just step right back into down dog, vinyasa or not, your call. Then look in between your hands and jump right through to seated. Come into Dandasana. Turn your thighs so that your knees point straight up to the ceiling. Plant your hands next to your side. Use your hands to create the feeling like your back's up against the wall, but you're not projecting your rib cage forward to get the upright feeling. Now from there, take your arms forward. Keep descending the hip creases, the sit bones, as you take your arms up. Then bring your arms back down in front of you. And we're going to come into boat pose from here. So bring the hands next to the hips, lean your torso back halfway. Rib cage draws in as you hover the feet 1 inch. Reconnect into your core. Make sure you can feel your core doing the work. The low abs supporting the legs, the ribs staying in as your arms go forward. And then maybe you might be able to start to lift your feet up higher if you have the hip and hamstring flexibility. But you want to feel the work in your core. This doesn't make it work in your core better. Hovering your feet right here, you're getting it well. But if you have the flexibility, you can add the fancy part, the cherry on top. Then set your heels down onto the ground and lower down onto your back ribs. Again, make sure that you're in your core. Feel your rib cage in. Feel your rib cage move in. Hips reach out of your back. And then maybe the cherry on top, you could take one leg forward, feel your low abs, maybe change legs, maybe you can do both legs forward, but it's not required. come back up, Navasana, and pick up. Before you go to pick up, make the mind muscle connection, turn on your abs, and then lift your butt up. Squeeze the knees towards each other. Maybe you can lift one foot up. Set the hips back down, come back into boat pose. Lower into low boat pose. Maybe one leg. Ooh, but really make sure that your low abs are holding the leg. You're not just doing it from your hip flexor. Come back up. Cross your legs the other way. Hands down. Pull your hips up. Visualize your abs turning on. And see if you can keep your abs turned on in your mind's eye as you lift the feet up. Set your butt back down. Navasana. Ardha Navasana. Come back up. Cross the legs, pick up. Lie down onto your back. Open your arms out to the side. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Hug your ribs back in and down. Pelvis in neutral, feel your lower back curve. Now bring your legs up into table. And as you exhale, slowly take your legs over to the right. Pause. And come back to center. And over to the left. Try not to let your right shoulder lift. Feel the movement coming from your abs. Then twist your abs to come back to center. Over to the right. Exhale back to center. I like to take a little breath as I hold there. Exhale to the left. Pause, a little breath in. Exhale back to center. If you want to make it more challenging, take your legs straight up, but that requires a bunch of hamstring flexibility, so it's not a requirement. Exhale to the right. Stretching through the shoulders, creating more space. Little breath in. Exhale back to center. Exhale to the left. Little breath in. Exhale back to center. Good, then roll yourself up to seated. And pick up and float back into chaturanga. Or just step back into down dog. Step your right foot for crescent lunge. Bring your hands to prayer and lean out over your knee. So the reason we did that one with the knees just in tabletop was to educate for neutral spine twisting. So instead of curling yourself over, I want you to hold your spine like when you're on your back at the beginning, and then turn from your belly to get your elbow to hook. Now, some of you guys might want to go deeper from this position. You might want to slide your arm down your leg further, but to do that, you're going to still maintain neutral instead of rounding over. Drive through the center heel. Turn on that right hip. Don't just hang in your joints. Feel your muscles supporting you. Then right hand to hip, left hand goes a foot in front of the foot. Before you lift your back leg, make the connection into your core. Support yourself from your strong core as you float the leg. Ooh, there it is. And then you can bring your hand to your belly, spin your center chest like we practiced, and then maybe take your arm up. Inject your tailbone into your back heel. Drive that back heel straight back. Standing splits, bring your hands down, raise your back leg up. And then lower your left leg to meet your right. Fold forward. Bend your knees, roll yourself up to stand. Press straight down through the center of your left heel as you hug your right knee up. And then we're gonna come, this is where you're gonna need the strap, perhaps. I'll just have my strap handy over here. Hug your knee up to your chest. But you should have perfect posture, strong in your core, steady core. Maybe level 2, you could reach on the inside, hook the big toe, but you still have perfect Tadasana posture. Maybe you could stretch the leg out in front of you, maintaining the perfect Tadasana posture, or you can strap your foot if you feel like you start to lose it. Keep your pelvis back or your ankle. Don't go water skiing. That's where you're going like this. Don't lean back. Stay right up tall over your left ankle. Feel your ribs back into position, the pelvis in neutral. And now the most complex, standing, balancing, and let's add a twist. Turn the chest, take your arm back. Come back to center, release your leg, arms up. Hold that leg up there. And then bend your left knee, cross your right leg over, cross your right arm under for eagle. Uncross the arms and the legs, stand in mountain pose. Then to make your way back to down dog, take a vinyasa or just go right back. Inhale the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Step back into downward dog or take a vinyasa. From down dog, here we go, side 2. Step your left foot, crescent. Bring hands to prayer. Tip from your pelvis. Keep the neutral. Then spin. Don't sink into it. You're still turning on your hip. You can feel that strong leg supporting you, helping you to access your core. If you'd like to slide deeper, you can take the arm further down the leg, but you're not rounding to get into it. You still have your length. Then left hand to your hip. Put your right hand down a foot in front of your foot. Is that left hip turned on still? Now lean into your left foot and raise your back leg up. The higher you lift the back leg, the more the lumbar is going to want to sink to do it. So remember, low abs turn on and the glute. Remember when we were trying to swing the leg behind you, how you could feel the glute having to work? I was telling you to engage the glute as you hold the leg and try to push it back behind you. It's the same thing here. So that was just that standing little hip mobility exercise was just to teach you the different muscles that have to turn on to hold your leg in different positions. Now turn your belly, spin your navel up to your left shoulder, turn your rib cage, and then maybe take your arm up. Standing splits, left hand down, raise your back leg. Lower your right leg. Let's take a little forward fold in between. Hook your big toes, and as you inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold, bend the elbows to the side. Release your toes, come up to stand. Press straight down through your right heel as you bring your left knee up. Hold there or take big toe. Hold that or try stretching your big toe out in front of you or strap your foot. Then change hands. Feel your navel soften to spin. Turn your ribs, turn your chest, and then try taking your arm back. Release and look forward, arms up, hold your leg up. Bend your right leg, cross your left leg over, and cross your left arm under. Uncross your arms and your legs. Stand in mountain pose. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, flat back. Now take your feet outer hips distance apart. We're going to come up into the wide-legged squat position again. This time, see if you can slide your hands behind your legs, and you're going to hook your hand to the back of your ankle to wiggle your shoulders a little deeper. Put your hands back, fingers pointing back, start to sit back. So phase one, you're just going to work on sitting in malasana with the hands behind you. If you're like, this is super easy, I can sit in this position, my hips are real open, have a strong chaturanga, then you could try the next one where you wiggle just a little deeper, turn your hands around, and then practice sitting back, crossing your ankles. Uncross, come into Uttanasana, and then slide your hands underneath your feet so that the toes come to the wrist creases. Then release that. And next, we're going to practice going upside down for a minute or two. So if you don't have an inversion practice yet, you're going to work on building strength by going from down dog on the forearms to plank on the forearms, 30 seconds in each, and then back to down dog on your forearms for as long as you can hold. If you'd like to work on flexibility instead, you can practice Prasarita Padottanasana for 2 minutes. Or if you have your inversion, you can work on your handstand, headstand, or forearm balance. Today I'm going to go through the Prasarita variations myself, but feel free to do work on what you feel like you need to work on. So lately we've been working a bunch on the inversions. So today I felt good idea just to work on the flexibility. All right, so go ahead, do your thing. For the Prosarita variations, we'll start with A with the fingers pointing forward and the elbows pointed back. If you're doing the Prosarita variations with me, we'll go for B now, hands on the hips. Elbows point back as you fold forward. And next is C. You clasp your hands behind your back or use a strap. Now make sure when you go to spin your shoulder blades onto your back that you don't do it by pushing your rib cage. So keeping the rib cage in, rotate the shoulders, draw the blades onto the back, turn the upper arm bones, and then start to go forward. Very last one, hook your big toes, and as you inhale, make a flat back. And exhale, fold, bend the elbows out to the side. So often I get asked, what will make my arm balances and inversions, like it's kind of tough for me. So first is core strength. You have to have the core strength, but also important is hip and hamstring flexibility. So for example, if you aren't able to fold deeply into a pose like this, where the position of your femur relative to your torso is pretty close, then it's going to be difficult to go into arm balances like, well, I don't know if you guys know the names or not, but like Titibasan and Ekapada Kundinyasana. It's going to be difficult to take the legs out while you're in arm balance. Come back up. That goes for handstands and headstands as well. All right, now let's make our way back into downward facing dog. And then we're going to stretch out the quadriceps a little bit. So let's step the right foot up to the right hand, lower your back knee. And you can stay here in the low lunge with the back knee down, back foot down. Or you could add on, can shift the hips back, bend the knee, reach back and take your foot. There's also the wall variations for these, which are really my favorite, but I don't want to go messing up this fireplace. Release that, and next we'll come into the half splits. Now I'm going to encourage you to stay with the half splits today and come up onto something. We're going to wiggle the foot forward, and then we're going to dorsiflex. So see how I have my hip stacked right over my left knee? Now I'm going to put just a soft bend in the right knee and pull the toes back. I'm going to reach to the center heel. So reach to the center of your heel like you're reaching into a wall. And then pull through the crown of your head so you're creating almost like a little bit of tension through your spine to stretch the spine, to really stretch the muscles. And you can feel when you do that, can you feel the intensity increase in your leg as opposed to if you just hang out there? So what you do with your core is going to affect each pose. Now that I have my spine elongated, ooh, I can feel my legs stretching in these areas where they're kind of like the holes where I just kind of cheat from usually. And I can like go deeper, but I'm not getting these areas to stretch. Now, if you want to go for full splits or whatever, that's fine. Or you can just hold here, working on getting into the places that don't normally get the stretch. And if you'd like to change, you can go into plantar flexion now. Whole different stretch experience when you do that. And let's change sides. Step back into down dog. And bring the left foot forward, right knee down. Hold there or catch your foot. Even here, visualize your pelvis reaching out of the lower back, the neck long. Feel the front ribs release back as you breathe into the back ribs. Oh, now it's a little deeper stretch. Before I wasn't really feeling much of a stretch. Now that I got that, hopefully you can too feel that. And release that. Bring hips back over top of the knee. And slide the foot forward into dorsiflexion. Soft bend in the knee as you come up. Come up high enough so you can fully find neutral spine. Tadasana spine. Back on the floor feeling. The ribs don't sink. And for the last few breaths into plantar flexion if you like, or go for deeper variation, full splits, whatever. And step back into downward dog now or take a vinyasa. Then come to a kneeling position. Come into Supta Virasana or Supta Virasana preparation. Go back onto your hands, onto your elbows, back over a block or whatever. So one of the things that my teacher used to say is that when you first start practicing, you can use props or take yourself out of the pose to find a better pose. And over time, you start to get better at the pose and you start to take away the props and you start to find more depth and movement. And then there's the time where eventually you add the prop again so that you can learn more from the pose. And I never understood that. I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you should just be, once you're advanced, you get rid of the prop forever. And I was very resistant to the idea of pulling yourself out of a pose. I thought that was like, that was taking yourself back a step. But now I understand. Hopefully from today's class, you could understand that too. Like, okay, yeah, if I take myself out a little bit, I can really feel the muscles are supposed to be moving. I can refine my movement. So, but that is really an advanced art, to be able to have the patience, to be able to witness and observe what is happening in your body. A beginning student couldn't do that. It would be boring. It wouldn't make sense. Okay, now from here, lie down onto your belly. And bend your knees. See if you can reach back with your hands to take your feet. And then from there, you can just work on stretching and lengthening out along the floor. That's fine. Move your buttocks out of your lower back. Lengthen the tip of your tail, not tucking. You can hold there, or you can start to come up into extension. Now, two different variations that I like to do in this one is first to move the shins back. And then the next one that I like to do, this one is only for healthy lower backs, is keeping the pelvis down to start to lift the shins up and then draw back. And that takes you a little deeper. Release that and roll up into upward facing dog. Stretch back into downward dog. And now for your last two back bends, I'll leave it up to you. We can do supported back bend over the foam roller, or you can do active bridge or Urdhva Dhanurasana. So if you can do bridge and Urdhva, go ahead at your own pace. Otherwise, a couple of supported back bends, long holds. Support right at the bra line. Hold the elbows as you exhale to go over. So this area that we're getting into with the supported back bend, it's the most challenging area of the spine to move. But once you get it moving, you'll start to notice a lot more freedom in twisting and even in forward bending, because it tends to be stuck in all of those movements. Come back up, change the clasp of the elbows, and go back. So in our last class, which was made that class yesterday, I hadn't backbended over the foam roller in maybe 5 days or so. And then we did the supported back bends, and I was noticing in today's practice when I was forward folding, I can feel my thoracic spine moving. I could even feel it like popping, adjusting in good ways. And that's all from keeping this mobility with doing the supported back bends, educating it to move. So super important. And it doesn't have to be over the foam roller. You can also do it over a chair, over a ball. But at least a couple times a week, taking time to go into the supported back bend, I think is so important. For the last few breaths, if you like, you can take your arms overhead. And then come back up. Now lie down onto your back, flat. Open the arms out to the side. Cross your right knee over your left, shift your hips over to the right a little, and let your knees go over to the left. Bring the knees and hips back to center. Change the cross of your legs. Hips over to the left a little and knees over to the right. Ooh, come back to center. Hug your knees to your chest and roll up to seated. Stretch your legs straight out in front of you. Bend your left knee off to the side. Turn to face your right leg. And now, just like we practiced in the half splits, start to walk your hands forward, keeping a flat back. Where's the spot where you start to round? That was rhetorical. You don't have to actually say it. Maybe you could even catch your foot or strap and keep the flat back. Notice if you're trying to push your ribcage forward to make the flat back. Then soften your navel and let the whole spine go forward and down evenly. Now here's that thoracic spine I was talking about. Instead of moving forward and down, mine just wants to hunch up like this. But if I'm keeping it mobile by doing twist and back bending over I can feel that it'll move a little bit better forward and down with me. But most of us tend to just hunch that part up when we try to go all the way into the pose, myself included. Come back up. So that's why it's good to hold the flat back variation for a while first, because you're also giving your spine time to move and you're educating the muscles that don't normally move. For example, those stiff upper back muscles. Oh, we walked forward first, my bad. Also, when we move this way, you'll feel that you give your hips time to release and adjust, especially if you have like a shin that doesn't lay all the way down to the floor or a thigh that feels like it gets caught up. Now maybe you can strap or catch the foot. And then instead of pushing the ribs out to get length, from your pelvic floor, imagine you could pull a string of energy right up your central channel, up through the roof of your mouth, up through the crown of your head. That's a way different feeling. And then stretch out over your leg as you exhale, soften your belly. And then come back up. Open the left knee out to the side for a wider Janu Shirshasana. Inhale, sit tall. And then we're going to do the Parivrtta variation as you reach out for your foot. Take your arm up and over. You can catch the foot or slide the hand behind the head, similar to what we did at the beginning of class. Come back up. Change sides. Come back up. Then cross your legs and fold forward, or take a single pigeon, a double pigeon, a gomukasen, any hip opener you want to hang out in. If you're taking a folded forward variation like the gomukasen or the double pigeon or the cross-legged one like I'm showing, it's nice to support your head because the spine can release into its length as opposed to the weight of the head making the spine react and tense up. So you feel when your forehead is supported that it helps to trigger the relaxation response because of the pressure on the forehead, but also the support of the weight of the head. Your spine muscles don't have to hold it. Come back up, change the cross, and go forward. And then lie down onto your back for Shavasana, horse pose. And gently bend your knees. Roll over to your right side. And press up to seated. Thank you. Namaste. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me in today's class. I hope that you found building on what we worked on helpful, a little more challenging in the standing series. Core work still pretty challenging, and I hope you could feel what we were getting at. And stay tuned for our next class where we're gonna add some more funky hip openers. I think you'll dig it. And as usual, if you enjoyed class, let me know. And if you have any ideas about what you'd like to see in the future, I'd love hearing from you. Have a great day.